Stress. Now, I want to teach you about stress because a lot of people don't know how stress works, but there's different forms of stress, and stress affects different things in your body. Number one, there's two parts to your brain that I want to mention. Number one is called your conscious brain, and what's the other one called? Your subconscious brain. All the years of trauma in your life, all the stresses, childhood wounds, all of that is stored in your subconscious. So a lot of times people don't know why they're anxious or why they can't sleep, or why their body is in this stress response. And it could be a lot of times because there are unresolved traumatic experiences that they live through that their body never had the time to process. This is the key word, process. When it comes to stress, we need to learn how to process stress. Let me give you a little background about myself. I don't know if a lot of you know this or not, but I was actually born in Tehran, Iran. I was 3 years old when my family decided to move to America. The reason we left is that there was a revolution. And my dad was on a blacklist to be killed, his entire family. And the reason why is he used to deal with the construction vehicles with the army. He used to sell construction vehicles. And so he was on a blacklist to be killed because the government was overthrown during a revolution. So can you imagine? That was a little stressful. I still remember, because I was only 3, but here's what I remember. I remember driving to the airport, and I thought people were throwing candy at the windows, so I wanted to roll down the windows. And my mom wouldn't let me roll them down. And I found out years later that that wasn't candy, those were rocks. And that in the middle of a revolution, cars were being torched on fire, and there was all this chaos. And, I was the youngest of 3 kids, thank God, so I didn't remember or recall a lot of that. But I can tell you, we caught the last plane out of that country before they shut down all the airports. We came to America. It was 1979. I had 2 brothers, one of which was 10 years older than me. The other one was 12 years old. That puts them right about high school. They went into Brooklyn, one of the toughest neighborhoods there was, without speaking a word of English during the Iran POW controversy. And so because they were Persian or Iranian, even though they were in this country because they fled the revolution, they would get a lot of abuse from the kids there because they thought that they were part of the reason why their family were being captured was because of my 2 brothers, in their mind. The trauma that my brother endured destroyed his life in so many different ways. Caused all sorts of physical, mental, emotional disruptions. He suffered significantly because of all the memories that are in his subconscious. I suffered the least because I was only 3 years old. My father, one of the main reasons why he got sick was because he endured that. He came to a new country at 50 years old with 4 kids. I was the youngest, 3 years old, didn't speak a word of English, and had to figure out how to survive. In addition to that, my father took a year to go back to the country and to see what was happening to his friends because a lot of his friends were missing. And he would find out sometimes that some of those friends got killed, captured and killed. Other ones were in jails that nobody knew about, and he would have to go to their families and report back. So you can imagine the trauma that somebody endures. As you live life, sometimes we forget the trauma that you've been through. We also forget that generational trauma can affect you. Did you guys know that? Did you know that they did research studies and they find out that inside your DNA, there are memories from past generations that are being carried forth? Why? Because the DNA carries vibrations. And when you have a child, your DNA and your significant other's DNA is what makes up that child. Your DNA actually has memory. Vibration memory. So generational wounds can carry forward. When you study the scripture, they talk about generational sin. But there's also generational wounds that need to be healed. You know what we call those? You say, oh, that just runs in my family. We just get angry a lot. Or we just get sad a lot. Or, I don't know, but we get anxious a lot. Yeah, I know. It runs in your family. You have a generational wound that hasn't been healed. So if we're going to really get people well now, I'm throwing a lot at you, right? But it's very important you understand that stress is a very big component. And sometimes when people think of stress, they think of stress right now. So it's like, no, I'm fine now. I'm in America now. I'm fine, right? Yeah, but all that stuff hasn't been processed. And it's all causing you see your subconscious can either feel safe or unsafe. So if you go through traumatic experiences like that and they're left unprocessed, it's feeling unsafe all the time. You ever wonder why certain people just react to things? You're like, what are they reacting about? It's not even a big deal, right? And you go, what kind of reaction is that? Like they thought it was like a life or death thing. Well, it's not. Yeah, but the subconscious remembers the things that are. And they never healed from them. They never healed from them.